Hey, welcome back to the greatest race course in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A very important day of testing today. In fact, a whole week of testing. Well, a week is 3 days if a month is 2 weeks, if that makes sense, math around here. But rookie orientation the last 2 days combined with hybrid testing. Of course, the plan is that the full IndyCar season next year will run with hybrid power. So we've got a ton of interviews to get to today talking about hybridization. We're talking about what that's going to be like for the drivers. We're also talking about several of the rookies, including probably the biggest rookie story, let's be honest, in the last 5 or 6 years, since Alonso, I'd definitely say, Kyle freaking Larson. And no, it's not quite a Larson video, so I'm not going to quite yell, but I guarantee you before the end of the checkered flag of the 108th Indy 500, I feel like at least at one point I'm going to be doing the full-on Kyle Larson intro. So stay tuned and subscribe for that in about 8 months' time. But yeah, a lot of stuff to get to. An interesting day. Obviously, when you have new technology being tested as well as new drivers, there's a lot to break down, a lot to keep track of. And we're going to start with the hybrids because I think this is a huge story that not as many people are focusing on, because when the technology changes in racing, it does change the racing. And the way the hybrid is going to be implemented on the oval tracks has been a talking point for a long time. And while I'll let the representatives from IndyCar and Honda kind of give you the gory details about it, essentially what they're going to do to regenerate the electric power within that hybrid unit is on the straightaways, the teams or the drivers will have the option to pull a lever, which the lever on the wheel apparently that they're going to be using is the same one that will be used to get out of the pits with the clutch pedal, or the clutch pedal on the wheel. And when they get in a draft or when they're just kind of by themselves, they can pull that lever and start to generate electric energy, which is definitely a different way than it has been done in the past. So I'm curious about how that's going to work. But before we get into too much more of my thoughts about it, I think it's important to listen to this interview opportunity that we got today with President of IndyCar Jay Fry, Rob Buckner of Honda, and Matt Niles of Chevy. They talked to the media today and definitely give us a lot of insight about the hybrid future of IndyCar and where exactly the program is right now.
We've been working on this for some time, obviously. We got it to a certain point, and then we looked at our two current partners to finish the thing off and make it raceable. So that's what's happening. They've taken this idea we've collectively had, we got it to a certain point, and then we've got the real experts in now to help get this thing to where we can race them.
But is there room for proprietary innovation?
It's going to be a spec piece, right? The hybrid part is, yes, it's at this point, yes. But I think what the drivers will have, right? I mean, the drivers will have a tool that they can use differently, and I think that'll be something that'll separate. How does that work, right, for the drivers?
I mean, basically what we're adding is an energy storage, which uses supercapacitors, which is kind of a different thing than you might find in a road car, except for a couple extreme examples. But at any rate, so we have an energy storage on the car, basically like a battery, but uses supercapacitors. And then there's an electric motor, and all of that is fit inside the bell housing, which is a piece that fits between the engine and the gearbox at the back of the car. So we're adding in that energy storage and the electric motor and tying it straight into the drivetrain of the whole vehicle. And then going out here, we're using a paddle to, the driver can say, I want to charge up the battery, and then they push a button and it uses the electric motor to add some power to the car. Similar at a road course, kind of the same thing. And we can use either automatic regeneration, or you can have the driver involved pulling the paddle. And from our side, I mean, I think we're just interested in getting involved in different sustainable technologies out there, and then allowing our engineers to develop them and work on them, and then come here to this sort of extreme environment to test them in a race, and then how that all plays out going for the future.
When we were looking at how we could make this work at a super speedway, paddles a fit there for the way the drivers could manage the energy in the system and out of the system. Kind of plays into the hands of the drivers with how this place historically races. So it seems like a good starting point for the first couple days here, and I think we're all learning a lot. So there's a lot of details to come on that, but all good so far.
To get all the teams to have their hands on it, our goal is to have that before the end of the year. And I think that getting all the parts and pieces in place by St. Petersburg is going to be a challenge. But that's what we do here is challenges. So
I think we're always trying to compare simulation tools and how we prepare coming to the racetrack. I don't know if capacitors would power an all-electric vehicle, which is where we see GM going, simply because they're kind of high power for short duration, which isn't a good fit for an all-electric vehicle in terms of range. But I think the whole EV space, everyone's learning a lot, so you don't want to turn away from any opportunities to build upon that skill set for the company, for the program, for motorsports, or anything.
So today was the first time, at least on a super speedway, that 4 of these hybrid programs have all been running simultaneously. For the most part, the testing, whether it was with the 2.4, the scrapped 2.4 liter engines, or the current 2.2 liter engines, we've typically only seen one Chevy, one Honda running, and we actually had some additional teams today running one extra Honda with Andretti Autosport and one extra Chevy with Aero McLaren SP. And this is the most hybrid units that have run on an oval track, though they did do a 4-car test at Sebring last week. And theoretically, at least at the time that I am filming this, there's supposed to be a little bit more pack running with the 4 cars. They were actually running in the pack a little bit earlier today. There are still cars on pit lane, so I assume that they're going to finish out the day and do a little bit more running, but they're not currently. But the hybrid cars actually all got in a pack to see how the hybridization and the deploy and the regen would work in a traffic sort of situation. I can tell you from what I saw from the outside, it looks very similar. But before they actually got out in the pack, which is kind of unfortunate that we didn't get to talk to them after that, but when they did single car running today, we got to talk to each of the drivers involved in the hybrid test today, those being Alexander Rossi, Colton Herta, Will Power, and Alex Pillow. And they give us some insight into the hybridization from the driver perspective.
No, it's certainly not faster.
It'll lower the actual horsepower number, but it'll lower how fast you can go, your top speed. So as far as that, yeah, we're pushing out more horsepower, but yeah, it adds weight, and so it's still kind of unclear to me on if it's going to be a quicker car or a slower car, especially early on, before we really know how to take advantage of it. It's obviously slower right now, but still got a lot of work to do with it.
I'll have to say, like in qualifying, you're going to be pretty busy on that first lap, because I'm pretty sure you'll regen on the warm-up lap and decide when you deploy. But between that, the weight checker, switching the fuel slot, and the bars, yeah, it's got more capability, but I think reliability is going to come first. So creep up on the amount of power that we use in the deploy. Yeah. Well, you'll still have push to pass as it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it won't be any different. You'll still have that button, but you'll also, this thing's just adding more power.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that it's used out of every single corner on a road and street course, just for more horsepower.
How many times a lap here do you think you'll be regenerating?
You'll be as soon as you're in the draft with someone, you're going to be regenerating, and then you're going to be trying to time that deploy of when you want to pass it. Maybe you're deploying, go, no, I'm not going to get him, and then switch it off and regen again back in his draft and wait for a better run. So I think that'll be really based on how you're running. I think you'll try to keep that tank full anytime. Instead of hitting the limiter or lifting, you'll grab the paddle to regen, it'll just be a constant changing thing.
Then the only issue I saw this morning is that obviously when you recharge alone on clean air, you lose a lot of speed. You gain it back, but let's say that if I recharge here, I'm losing a ton, and then I gain it back there. But when you are in traffic that we normally start, let's say, coasting from straight like the start finish line. I think it's a moment where you recharge, and hopefully if you're third, you can still overtake.
So in addition to the hybridization tests, the first time at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the oval, there was also rookie orientation over the past 2 days. And very quickly, all 4 drivers that were participated in rookie orientation passed. Scott Mayer continues to have the dubious distinction of being the last driver to fail rookie orientation. He did that for PDM Racing in 2003. Linus Lundqvist, Marcus Armstrong for Chip Ganassi Racing, as well as Tom Blomqvist completed their rookie orientation programs yesterday. And today was obviously the big rookie orientation day because it was Kyle Larson who passed his rookie orientation practice. And there's been a bit of confusion because there's still one rookie who will need to do his rookie orientation program and was unable to do it today, and that is Kiffin Simpson, another new signee to the Chip Ganassi Racing organization. They'll have 3 rookies in the Indianapolis 500 next year, and Kiffin lacks currently the high-speed oval experience in an Indy car or an equivalent car that he would be able to be allowed into rookie orientation. Kyle Larson, IndyCar considered all his NASCAR experience and sprint car experience to be more than enough for him to be able to go out there and safely do rookie orientation, which he was obviously able to do. So big press conference today. Let's hear first from some of the principals on the team, Jeff Gordon, Rick Hendrick, and of course the driver, Kyle Larson.
It's something that this is like home for Jeff, and this track's got so much history, and I never think we'd do this, but to be here today and watch it unfold is pretty special.
I could tell he was a little bit nervous. Heck, my palms were sweating before he got out on track myself, but then immediately you just see it click when he made those first few laps, and he just went into Kyle Larson mode of, all right, now how do I get up to speed and go fast and get, he doesn't want to just come here and compete. He wants to come here and compete competitively.
So the slower the speed, it was just kind of hard for me to figure out my timing. I would roll out down the straightaway and then I'd run wide open through 1 or 2 and feel I'd look at my dash, be like, okay, I think I'm okay for 3 and 4 to run some throttle. Then I come off 4, I'm like, oh, I'm too fast, and having to slow down a lot. And then vice versa, then I'm trying to play catch up on other laps and barely getting by. So yeah, once you went faster, you're just running more throttle. It's easier to kind of stay within that window.
I've learned not to commit or say I'm not going to do anything, because I made a statement I wouldn't run Indy, and 30 days later I had to back it up and say I am going to do that. I think as opportunities present themselves, we kind of look at them, and Jeff and I talk about it a lot, and with all of our other teammates back at Motorsports. So we have, we like to race. We enjoyed the IMSA racing. We enjoyed Garage 56. I wish we had more places to run that car. And but our main goal is to win championships in NASCAR. And but I've learned never say never, because he's got a lot more gas in his tank than I do in mine. So, but we're always looking at options. So.
And so Kyle Larson himself did 72 laps today. His fastest speed was 217.898 miles an hour. That fastest lap was done on lap 65 of his run. Kyle Larson, of course, looking impressive today. No real surprise, though I will say yesterday in a little bit better conditions, the Ganassi guys went about 219, and Tom Blomqvist actually was the fastest at 220 miles an hour. So, and if you're curious, the hybrid cars have been around the 217 to 216 range. As you heard from the drivers, they're just a little bit slower. But I did get to ask a few questions in the press conference to Kyle Larson, Tony Kanaan, and Rick Hendrick, because I think there's a really cool story with him and Will Power that I think you're going to want to hear about.
Just go ahead, David.
Yeah, a couple for Tony. First one, Tony, what's your evaluation of Kyle Larson, the IndyCar driver? And second of all, you fit in his seat. Does that mean when it rains at lap 80, you're the relief driver?
I don't think Kyle Larson needs evaluation as an IndyCar driver. He's a complete race car driver. It's probably, out of his generation, the best I've seen. I've tasted a little bit what these guys do, like he does, trying different cars lately, and I know how much I struggle, and he wins and everything. So I don't think he's just one of the best race car drivers in the world right now, and I'm very fortunate to actually get the chance to work with him. And if I can contribute it, that would be when we win this one, I'll still get a ring, so I can say I have 2 500s instead of one. So, and the other question is, if it rains at lap 80, Mr. Hendrick either let me drive the car or not. My helmet and suit will be in the truck, but hopefully it won't happen, and Kai will get to enjoy the whole thing. I've had pretty good runs here. I love this place. Although nobody believes me, I'm good. I was good with my decision this year. So,
for Kyle, we've heard so much about the development of the Gen 7 Cup car, the similarities to an Indy car. Did you notice any similarities between an Indy car and the Gen 7 car?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, you're processing a lot while you're out there, and you're by yourself. I think there was times when I got, a lot of wheel in it, and I would say yes, like the steering is quick until you get to a point, and then it's, not dead, but like you can keep turning and it's not as obviously as effective. But so that maybe in a way, yeah, I could tell some similarities. I think from talking to people, I think where it's become more similar is just the aero balance shift between clean air and traffic. I think and that's obviously not something I got to experience today because I was just by myself. But yeah, I think as I get to being around cars, I think the difference in balance is where it's probably gotten a lot closer. I think the style of our racing has trended more to them. Where now maybe not every weekend, but a lot of places, especially like Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, you're saving fuel to have a shorter pit stop and kind of get track position that way, where it sounds like I think that's what IndyCar guys do a lot. So just the overall strategy of the race, I think, is trended more like IndyCar, and then I think the cars in traffic has as well.
And for Mr. H, real quick, we saw Will Power give you a helmet. Could you just comment on that situation and that story?
Yeah, Will, his wife was real ill in Charlotte, and she was going the wrong way, and he called, and we got her moved into another hospital and had some of the doctors join in, and she came out of it. I was surprised to get the helmet, but I was more than happy to help them through that difficult time, and I'm glad she's okay. But the helmet was a real surprise and a real gift. I told him I love trophies and helmets, and he said this one hadn't won a race this year, but I did wear it in the Indy 500, so I said that's good enough. That was a great gift.
That's awesome.
Him again. Oh yeah, my wife got very sick in the off season, and Rick was one of the first people to call me and help me out once he found out, and put me in touch with the best doctors, the best people who could take care of it. She was very close to dying. It was a very tough situation. So he never stopped calling for the whole process, which like myself and my wife will never forget. I couldn't think of what to get him, to get Mr. Hendrick, and I think that's all I could think of that would be close to what I should get him.
So that's it for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the year 2023. When we come back here in 2024, there's going to be a lot of question marks still in the air. What about the hybrids? You heard from Honda, and let's be honest, in the paddock there are some questions about whether or not the hybrids are going to be ready for St. Pete. And if they're not, when are they going to be implemented into the IndyCar schedule? That remains to be seen, and at the moment is still just paddock chatter. I think that, if you're a fan, you should probably expect that things are going to go smoothly, and all the cars are going to be hybrid powered from St. Petersburg on through theoretically the foreseeable future in IndyCar. But that's going to change a lot of things. And all the rookies drove conventionally powered racing machines, just the 2.2 liter with no electricity applied to it. So obviously that's going to change the racing quite a bit. And I'm looking forward to covering that when it does indeed, when cars do get back on track, when the winter has broken and spring has sprung. I'll be heading to Petit Le Mans tomorrow. I will not have coverage of the two-car test with Marcus Ericsson and his first day for Andretti Autosport, and David Malukas in one of his first days, though not his absolute first day, with Arrow McLaren SP. But they will be running tomorrow if you want to come out and sit on the Turn 2 mounds and check that out. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm looking forward to May of 2024. I think it's going to be absolutely awesome, as it usually is. And obviously, we're going to have a lot to talk about between now and then, so subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.